promise to be on task and not slip anything by you. Hey, wait a minute. That's not what I wanted to do. So sneak in and watch Red because he's everywhere. Cardinal sports are meant to be celebrated, not just once, but at least twice. Sportsnight is next.
Sportsnight, I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. You know, before we get going, I have to tell you one thing. This is my most favorite show of the year, and I want to know if you can guess why, Yund.
Because you get to read a football
I do.
story.
I get to read a football piece.
That's right. Frequently, we take the week off after Memorial or after Labor Day, and we have two football games to talk about. And so Howie gets to talk about one. We have two to talk about.
We do.
A lot of stuff to talk about. A week and a half of sports to talk about, of course. Most teams had the holiday weekend off, but it's the first Monday of the school year,
It is.
and the sports season is well underway. We have a lot to talk about. We will start with the football team. The Cardinals opened their schedule with a serious test going on the road to face last year's state runner-up. St. Thomas Academy did lose a lot to graduation, but they didn't lose until the Prep Bowl last year. Cardinals were pumped up for the challenge and excited to take the field for their new coach for the first time. Beautiful facility at Jerry Brown Stadium with brand new turf on the field. Cadets opening possession starts at the Cardinal 34. And on 4th and 6, Joe Dayak rolls left, finds Angela Pasiga over the top, scores from 30 yards out. But the game was really a defensive battle on both sides. Miles Taylor tip and a pick. He's able to get across midfield. Unfortunately, the Cardinal offense couldn't take advantage. 3rd and 10, blitz is coming. Van Holzen can't escape the pressure. The Cadets get the strip and the recovery right along the sideline, and they would score on their next possession. The Cardinals got a fumble at the 1-yard line with less than 30 seconds left, but St. Thomas defense denies them on 3 straight attempts. Cadets go to the locker room up by 12. Van Holzen argues that a ball had crossed the plane, but the official says the knee was down, and the Cadets celebrate on their way to the locker room with this shutout intact. That's as close as the Cardinals would get. They were held to negative yardage in the second half and had just 3 first downs in the game. St. Thomas added to its lead late in the third. Dayak runs it in, and they scored a couple more in the fourth quarter, and they run away with a 34-0 lead and victory. It was not a pretty debut for the Cardinals this season, but a very tough defensive football team.
It really was, you know, and the Cardinals played them tough in that first half. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get anything done in the second, and St. Thomas showed why they finished runner-up in the Prep Bowl with that 34-0 lead. But you have to, you know, they did have some good things that happened in that game. They didn't have a lot of them, but they had some good things that they would take to the next week.
Well, and the Cadets, 5 shutouts last year.
Yep.
Started with the shutout over the Cardinals. Then got scored on first. Henry Sibley scored, was up on them 6-0 before they scored 55 straight points in last week's win.
Not bad.
No, that's a pretty good football team.
Well, the Cardinals definitely not happy with their Week 1 offense, but they knew they may be the best defense that they had seen all season. They were ready for a bounce back as they got set for the home opener in their first division game of the year. Forest Lake was also coming off an opening day loss, so both teams would be fighting hard for their first win of the year. Cardinals flying onto the field ready to reset the start of the season in front of the home crowd, and they start the scoring on their second possession. The toss goes to Jordan Doe running left. He's able to get around the corner for a 17-yard TD. Coon Rapids is on top 7-0. Well, that defense, it was smothering the Rangers all night long. Miles Taylor breaks through for one of his 2 sacks in the game, a loss of 12 on this one, and helps get the offense in great position. And strike quickly, just their third play. Van Holzen with time in the pocket goes down the middle and finds Avon Shannon streaking behind the defense. He's in for the 40-yard score. Unfortunately, he was injured on the play after crossing the goal line, and hopefully he'll be okay. See him there. Penalties meant the Cardinals kicked off from their own 15-yard line. That a good return by Plesky. Forest Lake started from the Cardinals' 18-yard line. A nice job by Plesky there. Well, the Rangers, they're going to score 3 plays later. First snap of the second quarter, Colton Trapp on the keeper runs right. Tripped up, but in for the score. Lead was cut to 14-6. Coon Rapids, they're going to add a 32-yard to Alex Finley field goal before the defense forced a huge turnover. Miles Taylor gets the strip on Plesky and able to fall on the ball as well. Miles has had a nice start to the season. Cardinals start at the Rangers 31. They take it to the end zone again. Van Hulsen on 1st and goal. Keeps it on the option. Scores from the 5. Coon Rapids up 24-6 at the half. Well, they weren't able to do much offensively in the second. That was enough. They held on for the 24-12 win. That was a fun game for them. They controlled that game from start to finish, and that's exactly the way that the coach wanted to see this team perform, and they did.
And I talked to a couple of the guys, including Jake Van Hulsen and Miles Taylor, over the weekend. They felt pretty good about the win, but they're already focused on Spring Lake Park, as they should be.
They have to be.
That has to be step one. All of them say, the guys that I talked to did say something about little disappointed that they weren't able to do a little something more in the second half, but it's a start, and the next step is on the road against Spring Lake Park. Here's a look at what is happening around the Suburban Blue. The Suburban Blue went from 4 teams to 7 teams this season, so a little more competition, and everything from here on out is a division game. Armstrong pummeled Hopkins. That was actually on Thursday night, and they improved to 2-0 on the season. Spring Lake Park coming off a big victory over Irondale, 34-7 last Friday, and Academy of Holy Angels blanked Park Center 40-0. Take a look at the standings. Coon Rapids at 1-0. The only other undefeated team in the division is Armstrong at 2-0. Spring Lake Park, Irondale are both 1-1. Hopkins, Forest Lake, and Park Center are all 0-1 in the division. Forest Lake and Park Center both 0-2 overall as well. And we talk about it at Spring Lake Park and then hosting Irondale, a big test next week if they can get that momentum going. Irondale a little down to start the year, off to an 0-2 start. If they can get a little more momentum beating Spring Lake Park on the road, they come home for Irondale and Park Center, the 2 0-2 teams. They could really put a nice streak together going into the late part of the schedule.
They really could, and obviously you want to take one game at a time, but they have the opportunity to start really well, and again, they'll just concentrate on Spring Lake Park, hopefully get the win, and then move on to Irondale.
Well, the tennis team already had a great start underway when we did the preview show a couple of weeks ago. They kept it going before they hit the holiday weekend with a 7-0 win over Andover. All the singles winning in straight sets. And after most of them many of them, I should say, went to the U.S. Open out in New York, they came back and they beat Blaine. Another win in a 4-3 contest. That's 4-1 in meets decided by one match. They followed that up with a win over new rival Rogers, who has been added to their section, beat him 5-2. They actually had a game in there against Spring Lake Park, or a match that they started, weren't able to finish. They actually were supposed to finish that one on Saturday before heading to Brainerd for a tournament, and I did not get a chance to get in contact with Scott Storick to get those results. So they had a busy weekend as well.
Well, and really such a nice start to the season, and that's what Coach Storick wants to see, obviously, from this squad. At 7-1 after 8 contests. That's of course we don't know how the rest of that stuff finished, but very good. Very good.
Well, and they've got another busy week at Champlin Park on Tuesday. They host Park Center on Thursday and then host their own tournament on Saturday. Volleyball team, as we talked about, started their season with a win.
They did.
It was great to see. Unfortunately, they were brought back to 500 with a 3-0 loss at the hands of St. Louis Park. The Orioles beating the Cardinals 25-11, 25-13, and 25-17. Becca Mastler had 5 kills and 3 digs. Peyton Shevchuk led the way with 11 digs. Wilbur had 5 digs, 2 kills, and an ace. And Fowler had a couple of blocks and a kill for the Cardinals. Well, the Cardinals opened their conference schedule last Thursday, hosting crosstown rival Blaine. Bengals came in with a few more matches under their belt, but they were off to just a 2-5 start. So both teams were really looking for a positive start to conference play. Coon Rapids off to a good start in the first set. Audrey Anderson attacking from the backcourt, finds a hole in the defense, and the Cardinals have the early 7-3 lead. Still in the first, kind of a crazy play, bodies flying all over the place. Michaela Wilbur gets the kill, but comes down awkwardly and had to be helped off the court. She did not return. Her team keeps fighting. Madison Fowler with a tip over the defense for the point. Cardinals take the first set 25-19. Blaine serving in the second. Cardinals trying to keep the upper hand. Great setup for Bella Bresnahan on the left side. She gets the kill. Coon Rapids leads 3-2 early. But the Bengals come roaring back. Late in the second, good serve receive, set up to the right side attack for Madison Schmidt. Blaine evens the match with a 25-16 win in the second. The Bengals carry the momentum into the third. Aaron Campo gets some help from the net for the ace. Blaine leads start to finish with a 25-12 victory. Cardinals fighting for their lives in the fourth. Good strong play at the net. Nicole Post gets a block, but the Cardinals trail 9-5 early. Cardinals keep it close for a while, but the Bengals able to stretch it out at the end. They secure a 25-15 win in the fourth set. And the Cardinals fall in 4 against a tough conference rival.
Well, yeah, and again, to get that first win, that's pretty good. But unfortunately, you mentioned Blaine's very good, and they lose the next 3. But, they're a team that will rebound as well.
Well, and the volleyball team hosted a tournament over the weekend, and I kind of failed updating all the graphics. Cardinals did go. I did. They were there, and I didn't get them updated. My bad. Cardinals go 2-2 with wins over Kaleidoscope Charter and Richfield. Lost to Cambridge Isani and Armstrong, but all 4 were close contests. We'll staying close with Armstrong.
We'll put your cell phone number up later in case anybody has any issues with that. They
the complaint line.
The complaint
line. Cardinals swimming and diving team got its first dual meet in, and it was against their pool mates from Blaine. Cardinals lose to the Bengals, but Megan Schultz, just for good measure, sets a couple more school records. One of them, a Northwest Suburban Conference record as well. What the heck? It's just the first meet of the year. She's only got 2 individual records left that don't have her name on them.
That's crazy.
And she's part of the 200 free relay that took first place and the 400 free that took second place. And those are a top 10 in school history and a top 15 in school history. So should be fun to watch what this team can do the rest of the way. They did also have a meet against Maple Grove on Thursday. I did not get results for that. I will have them for you next week on Sports Night. Swimming and diving team at Andover on Tuesday over at the Anoka, formerly Fred Moore Middle School, now Anoka Middle School for the Arts. Pool, we were supposed to be there, but unfortunately due to
those pesky Saints.
The Saints win means, and the rain on Monday means our crew will be at the Saints game. Instead, we will make it up to the swimming and diving team later in the season. They are at Park Center on Thursday. Cross-country team has had a couple of meets since we last sat here. Started with the District 11 early bird meet. Boys team finishing in third place, a solid finish for Mike Smith in fourth place, and also for Reed Smith, who got in under 18 minutes, as did Peyton Martinak. Noah Christensen finished 20th, and Joel Thoen finished in 27th place. For the girls, they finished in 5th place. Isa Hoagland had the top 10 time in 22:07. Eichstad was in 14th and Hoagland in 23rd. Then they went to Hopkins for the Bauman-Roman invite. Boys did pretty well at a very large invitational. There it is. 16th place, which was a little below the middle of the pack. Reed Smith, a 46th place finish. Noah Christensen, a ways back in 76th. Then Mike Smith in 87th, Peyton Martinek in 94th, and Thoen in 124th. Girls only had 3 girls run the varsity meet so that they could put stronger numbers in the lower class races. Isa Hoagland, a 67th place finish. Sarah Eichstad, a 70th place finish. And Zoe Hoagland finished in 90th in 23 minutes, 31.2 seconds. And the cross-country teams have the Lakeville invite coming up on Friday. The Malacca Mega Meet is a week from Saturday. So a lot of big tournaments for these teams early. And as we talked about in the preview, a boys team that is pretty strong. They have a good core of talent
Yep, they
at
do.
the top. The girls team, a little small, and Coach Green knew that going into when we did the preview interview, that there were going to be some events where it was just better for the girls' development to have stronger numbers in the JV race than to have a full team in the varsity.
Yeah, it's important to know that going in, and Coach Green obviously did, and his plans accordingly.
Soccer teams got very busy very quickly. 2 games each of the last 2 weeks. They start with some good, strong conference opponents, too. A 1-1 tie against Armstrong on the road. Not a bad start for the boys soccer team, playing against a tough team in the conference. Then they went to Irondale, and they lost 3-2, but that's a good sign that they were able to get a couple on the board. 0-1-1, not how they wanted to start, but a relatively decent start considering
absolutely.
kind of 2 tough opponents in the conference on turf, on the road. And they got a couple of goals.
Well, yeah,
they didn't get shut out.
They did not. And early on, you just kind of figure out what you have, and so they were able to get a couple of those games in. Well, the soccer teams had their home opener on the first day of school, hosting the Anoka Tornadoes. The Anoka boys hadn't given up a goal in their first 2 games of the season. While they only scored 3 goals in those 2 games, they were both victories. So the Cardinals were facing a massive challenge as they looked for their first win of the year. And the Tornadoes strike right away. Just 15 seconds into the game, Sebastian Fernandez crosses while Baxley redirects just inside the far post. Anoka has a very early lead. And they just pour it on. Less than 9 minutes in, Anoka keeper Mark Belknap gets off a great boot. The clear attempt goes straight up. Christian Mirabel gets the header on it before Winter can grab it. Tornadoes up by 2. Already up 3-0, Mirabel strikes again. He gets in on the breakaway. Winter stops the shot, but Mirabel able to poke the rebound in and stretch the lead to 4. Well, Anoka had a goal disallowed, but they still add one more before the half. Shane Finley with a shot from the short angle. Winter saves it, but it's right to Mirabel, and he completes the hat trick before the break. Tornadoes tearing it up with a 5-goal lead. Well, they added 2 more early in the second before the Cardinals find a way to avoid the shutout. Dinsmore's free kick is off the Anoka head, turns into a breakaway for Elmir Begic. He taps it home, and Coon Rapids gets the goose egg off the board. Well, Begic can get another on a penalty kick with just 9 seconds remaining. This one is good, makes the score look a little better at the end. The Tornadoes leveled the Cardinals in this one. 7-2 was the final.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to get the couple of goals at the end, but really rather meaningless goals because Anoka was
good.
They dominated.
They're very good.
They're very good and off to a very strong start. It was great to see the Cardinals avoid the shutout. Unfortunately, they couldn't avoid the shutout their next time on the field when they hosted the Andover Huskies. Huskies blanked the Cardinals 5-0 and dropped their record to 0-3-1 to start the season. And, you know, we talk about it year after year in every sport. You don't get a night off in this conference, and they have 2 very tough opponents. This week they're at Elk River on Tuesday, and then they host Blaine on Thursday. So very tough opponents start to finish for both of those squads.
It really is, and you know, but it just tests what you have on your team. And obviously, they know coming into the season they're going to play some excellent squads, and they're just going to have to play their best soccer and hope to be able to do their best to compete.
Well, the girls' soccer team's story is starting out on a great note. First game under new coach John Caron, the Cardinals beat Armstrong 3-1. Payne had 2 goals, and Knobloch had a goal and an assist. Hedlund made 19 saves in the victory. And they follow that up with a scoreless tie against Irondale. Talking to Coach Caron, he said they had some chances, just weren't able to bury any. But a scoreless tie is much better than a loss.
It is.
And they'll take that. And they got to feel pretty good coming in after 2 games, having 2 victories, but also playing strong defense and only giving up 1 in the first and none in the second.
Strong defense always been a trademark of this program, and for them to play as strong as they did, it really bodes well, and their offense is getting going as well, too.
Well, the Lady Cardinals were hoping to keep rolling when they got to play on their home field for the first time. The Anoka Tornadoes winless in their first 2 and came to the complex, hoping this rivalry game could help them break their skid. But Coon Rapids was determined to keep both streaks intact. Cardinals bring the pressure right away, and it pays off with a corner kick midway through the first half. Knobloch plays it to the short post. Jessica DeLong settles and scores. Coon Rapids on the board first. Same score until late in the half. Long pass to the corner for Peyton Taylor. She really has no angle, but plays it toward the net anyway. It's off the keeper's hand, off the crossbar, and into the net. Cardinals get the fortunate bounce and go up by 2. Final seconds of the half, Knobloch attacking down the right wing. Her shot is punched away, but right to Natalie Whitney, who puts the rebound home. Cardinals fly to the locker room up 3-0. Anoka controlled most of the second half, and they had a lot of great chances in the game that they just missed. This one off a turnover near midfield. Paige Youngquist, golden opportunity, shot into the side of the net. Excuse me. Tornadoes don't get in onto the board until just over 5 minutes are left. Hedlund tried to punch it away, but can't cover it. Haley Douye able to pry it free and put it home. That's all they would get.
That's it.
Cardinals win 3-1. Stay undefeated.
And again, I thought, they were outplayed a little bit in that second half, but I thought their defense played well enough to keep most things wide. They did have a couple of chances in Anoka, but good teams hold on to those leads, and they did so.
They did, but the Cardinals really have to feel fortunate. If they look at how many great chances Anoka was able to get themselves and came just wide a number of times, could have been a very different score very easily. Unfortunately, the undefeated streak had to come to an end. Cardinals lost to Andover on Thursday, 6-1, but 2-1-1, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you have to feel pretty good with that. I mean, obviously you don't like losing 6-1 at this point, but the fact that they've started 2-1-1, it's really a good opportunity for them because they're going to continue, just like the guys, they're going to be taking on some pretty quality opponents in here. So you've got a couple of wins under your belt, so you have to feel confident about that.
Yeah, and it is big. At Elk River on Tuesday, and they host Blaine on Thursday. Blaine is always one of the top teams in the conference on both sides, and they're that crosstown rival. So it's a game that both teams really get geared up for, but a tough opponent in Elk River on the road to start the week.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you play Blaine, your crosstown rival, if these were the records, you'd throw them out. So there you go.
And on that note, what do we have coming up for you? We were supposed to have swimming and diving. Not able to do that. We'll make it up later in the season. We do have football live at 7 o'clock from Spring Lake Park on Friday the 13th. Anything can happen on a spooky date. Then we're going to see volleyball at St. Francis on Tuesday the 17th. And the tennis team on Thursday the 19th as they host the Anoka Tornadoes. But that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us, continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young, saying good night.